think AI will get to a point where they can probably do a lot of what a lawyer does. And that's why I've kind of started deviating to litigation. And the reason is that I think AI isn't going to be able to be doing the in-court work in front of a judge. It will be able to help the contracts, review the contracts, negotiate the contracts, draft correspondence, give case analysis. But when it actually comes to court, that's very, very strategic. You need to know what their defenses are, what their likely defenses are, be able to preempt those defenses. So a lot of times with law, you kind of you don't trick them, but you leave certain things out, hoping that they're going to fall into your trap, and then you make them look like a liar, right? So that's what the strategy of litigation is all about. And what kind of claim do you bring? Do you bring it all? Well, if you bring it all, then you've got to prove it all. So you got to be able to choose what you want to actually claim, looking at what the costs to prove it are, and having that strategy of how you present your case. Whereas ChatGPT is just basically giving you the best solution.
Mm.
Here, here's all the breaches. Here's your claim to sue for everything. And that's not always the right thing to be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the weakness I've seen when I've like used GPT is that it only kind of gives you what you tell it, and whereas it can't take that overall, as you said, strategic view, and then there's also the emotional intelligence aspect of it, and kind of playing the opponent run.
Yeah. And I'll give you an example. If you have a commercial lease, for instance, right? And if a landlord terminates your lease because you didn't pay your rent on time, in that case, if you put that into ChatGPT, it would be saying, okay, um, challenge the termination of the lease, whether it was right or wrong, and how to get around the termination, right?
Mm.
But there's another whole area of law that ChatGPT probably doesn't even know, and it's called the equitable remedy of non-forfeiture, which if basically says you can go to the Supreme Court and say, yes, court, I'm very sorry, I didn't pay my rent on time. And yes, the lease was properly terminated, but I have the money. I want to stay in my property. And the judge can say, okay, I'll give you a declaration and equitable remedy of non-forfeiture, meaning that you can stay in your lease, just pay the money.
Mm.
That's it, right? So most people have never heard of that remedy.
Mm.
Um,